Welcome today to Gouache. This is our last program of the summer reading program, and it's going to be an exciting one. We're going to learn about this up-and-coming popular form of medium. People like it for various reasons, mostly because it's opaque, and they can layer upon it, and it covers it up, just kind of like acrylic does in that way. But it's got some properties that behave like oil paint and also watercolor. And so and then with the ease of water cleanup, it's kind of the best of both worlds, okay? So today we are gonna get started with that, okay? So I'm going to share my screen while we talk about this. Oops, I need to turn on my camera. I need to show you the different types. There's two main types of gouache, and this you may want to write down. What you have in front of you on your plate is watercolor gouache, and it's water-based, okay? But it is called just plain gouache. Then there's another thing, let me show you this one, that's called acrylic wash. And that gives you, it still comes liquid in these little tubes that you can pop off the lid and use the color and squeeze it out onto your palette. Some people like acrylic because it's fast, it's steadfast. It doesn't reawaken with watercolor or with water. And so this here is with gouache, and if I were to take, or acrylic wash, and if I were to take my paintbrush, let me zoom in so you can see this. If I were to take my paintbrush, it doesn't come off, okay? And it doesn't affect this, which is very important, but it doesn't smear. Now, if I take it over here, watch what happens. This is what we have today that we're using. And it behaves a lot like watercolor. It picks up the base color, and you get that color mixed in with whatever color you're doing on top. Now, that's not to say you can't add some color, because if I were to take some white and just gently go on top, oops, let me admit this person. If I were to go on top, I could probably get by with doing a little bit on top and it not matter. It's when you do a lot that you start picking up that color underneath. And so there's pros and cons to it. So let's talk about that. A lot of times people will cover their screen or their canvas with an acrylic wash and then paint with their other gouache, the watercolor gouache on top, because this isn't going to upset the base color. So if I were to go over here and paint a cloud, I will never pick up this blue underneath. It might show through a little just because my white is a little bit transparent, but it doesn't destroy the color, okay? So that's one of the biggest advantages of using acrylic wash as your base. So for instance, a lot of people will cover their picture. This is when I did it a long time ago. They'll cover the whole picture in pink or in orange, and that gives them a rosy glow underneath their painting, okay? And even if they were to use acrylic wash on top of it, it still gives it a nice underpainting that shows through in the peaks of leaves, you know, in between cracks, some places where it peeks through, you know, right here and in between some leaves and things. So giving this pink, you can even see it in the sky. There's some spots where the pink just comes through, and that's really nice for artists. The other reason artists use gouache, especially acrylic gouache, well, all of the gouache is the same. It is a matte finish. You guys, you'll pick up your one that I sent you. And it's very chalky. Feel it. It's really chalky. There's no gleam to it like you would see on a regular acrylic paint. It's very chalky. And what that does for photography, for like social media, it gives a true color. There's no light reflection distorting the color of this. And so illustrators use gouache a lot, because then when they upload their pictures or scan their artwork into Procreate or some other Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop, you know, those kind of programs, you're not going to get any reflections of light. It'll just be standard flat paint. So that's really why they use it. So let's get to know our palette a little bit. I've given you samples. Now, most artists, I will tell you, work straight from the tube. They rarely use the hard, dried up watercolors. And the only one of the reasons we are today is because that's how I could transport you guys and get you to come to have paint in your house, okay? But most artists will start with a tube and squeeze it on their palette and will work from there. And the reason they do that is because it hasn't been thinned at all. They don't have to add water to make it flow on the paper, and you use a lot less water, so your paint is a lot more concentrated from the tube. And so that's one of the reasons. Okay, we've got two people that are having trouble getting in, or their audio's not working. Everybody can hear me. I'm assuming if you cannot, please put that in the chat and we'll try to work that out. One thing that you can do, let me just type a little note. You can make sure that your microphone is on. Let me do that real quick. Okay, so to get to know our palette, we're going to do an exercise where we take these little squares, and I'm going to have you choose out 5 of them, let's say. 5 of these colors that you want to practice matching those colors with. Now, it can be a patterned one, but I'm going to put the pinks away because I already got a pink that I'm going to do. I'm going to do this dark one. I think dark is a good one, and another one that's good to try is a green, because our green, there's only one green in this packet, and frankly, that's not really enough for us to do a lot with. You know what, let's do 6 or 7 colors. Okay, the other thing, if you're looking for some gouache to do, always buy another tube of white. You will go through titanium white very quickly, and this tube will be gone maybe the first or second time you've used your colors. So buy an extra tube of titanium white. You want titanium because it gives you the clearest white to blend. Other whites might be a little on the beige side, and we want bright, brilliant titanium white. The other thing to look for is 2 blues. The kit that we have, it has 2 blues, but it only has 1 green, and it's just the green pale. This comes with Viridian hue, which is like a phthalo green. It's very blue-green, which is nice. So if you were to look for a pack of gouache at the store, 12 is a nice selection. That gives you a lot of colors to work with, and still go, and it gives you 2 reds, and still be able to do all the coloring you want. Now, I'll tell you, acrylic wash is quite expensive. And so I bought this starter kit. It's a demo kit. It just comes with yellow, red, blue, so your primary colors, green, which is always hard to mix, and then a black and a white. And this is a great starter kit if you want to delve into acrylic wash, okay? This one I got, I think it was Michael's. It's a 12 pack, of gouache, and this is for my own use. But it was like $60 normally, but if you use your coupon, it's like 40 or 30 if you can go on the days that it's half off. So, but there are 20 floor packs, so twice as many colors in a pack for those artists that just really want to paint and don't want to spend a lot of time mixing. And they're all, you know, pretty compatible with one another. Okay, so that's as far as acrylic gouache goes. So have you selected your 6? We're going to do 6. Okay, so I've selected my 6 colors, and I'm just going to glue them down randomly. Glue them on the top half of your sheet, practice sheet, or mixed media paper. And you don't have to go all the way to the edge or anything. But I'm just going to glue them down randomly. Kind of how they fell, actually. Okay. No, I don't want them lined up like that. That's okay, mine are all very random, right? Okay, so then I'm going to take my pencil, and this is a good study. This is perspective. And I'm going to put a dot down here at the bottom of my page. Okay, and then I don't know if I said to have a ruler. If I didn't, just take your sheet of paper. And what you're going to do is line up one end on that dot, and you're going to go to the corners of all your colors, and you're going to draw down just a little bit. And what we're doing is we're making cubes, and we're going to paint the rest of the cubes that are showing. So you only need to go down as long as the cube is, which is about, these are 1-inch squares, I believe, maybe 1 1/4. But you're still centering on this, so I can swivel this all the way around because I'm pivoting on this circle. And I want you to just keep drawing the points of the squares. And don't go down any farther than the height or width of the square. So I think right there's good. Ooh, this one lined up just right. Wow. I'll only have to paint one side again. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to try to match these colors in our mixology. So it's going to test your mixing ability. If you're colorblind, I apologize. My dad, my brothers are all colorblind. He owned a printing shop, and we used to have to tell him what colors he was mixing for the customer. And so I know all about that. But if you want to just do the best you can, I think it was greens and reds and browns kind of all looked the same. Maybe purples too. Okay. Good. Now everybody's little squares are different. So what works with you is going to be different. And now I'm just going to eyeball the bottom of these. And obviously that comes down to that point. Oops, I missed a point. We'll just put that in. I want you to just eyeball the bottom line, and that's fine. Hopefully your squares are turning out better, or your cubes are turning out better than mine. Okay. Now this is just to get to know the paint. I'm actually going to erase that bubble down there at the bottom because we're going to do another picture down at the bottom there. Okay, so I'm going to use my black brush to do this. And I'm going to start with the lightest one, which will be the pink, actually. So if you've got yellow, that would be where you would start. What you're going to do is you're going to wet your colors. Actually, drop a drop of water on all your colors to wake them up a little bit. And then grab some of this pink. Now, see, that's way bright. So I need to add some black to that to tone it down. And that was too much, although that's a nice, pretty purple. And remember that black or the white lends the opaqueness. Okay. So I'm going to try painting this square. And I'm a little bit off, I can see. But I'm not going to worry about it too much. Maybe add some of this other red. And just start painting your squares matching the color of the main color. And some of these are printed squares, so just choose the color that you think matches the easiest. You don't have to do all the colors or even the pattern. You're just picking a color. And I would love to make that so it's exactly that color. Ooh, maybe that's it. Oh, there we go. Okay. So these little studies, they're more like, we're using it more like watercolor in that it's lifting, it's not totally opaque. The less water you use, the more opaque it will be. Okay, so my next one would be the orange. We have two reds, by the way. One's a rosy pink red and one's a true red. Just so you know, the one that there's two different reds. And I did not load these plates, so I can't tell you which one is which. You're just gonna have to try. So I'm gonna try the yellow for my orange, just the darker yellow. And then again, just try some of this pink. Ooh, that's pretty close. Again, it's really watery. I want it more opaque. And if you do, you can dab your paintbrush on a paper towel and then go back into your color and it will be a little bit thicker. Does everybody understand what we're doing? Any questions? Oh, what brand is what? That we're using today? The brand here is Liquitex of the Acrylic Wash. This is just a brand, the watercolor that we're using today was what we found at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. I think this one's from Hobby Lobby, and it is Master's Touch. Does anybody know where you get Master's Touch in? I think that's Hobby Lobby. Okay. Okay, next I'm going to go over to this green, and it matches almost exactly my green square, so I don't think I have to do anything. I'm just going to paint this. I am going to get it really, really thick though. And you get it thick by just going around and around and around on it. letting some of the water evaporate, but also just picking up more of the color. And you will see that it's pretty opaque. I do see it's got a bit of black. Okay. Now, obviously, this is your first coat. Now, going over it again will make it appear darker. It'll be more opaque, and it will also strengthen the opaqueness of it. So that's really important. It may lift some of it too, though, so be careful. Okay, my blue, I have to darken a lot. So I'm going to be mixing, I've got the naviest blue square. I'm just going to put it down here. While we're talking, well, while we're doing this, I'm going to tell you about papers that are good for gouache. Most artists use smooth paper, so they'll go ahead and spend the money on a 300 pound weight. Our watercolor paper, you know, that I sent in the packet, our regular watercolor is 140. So that's twice as thick, twice as heavy. And it's hot pressed. So hot pressed takes out all the texture and it's very smooth. So today we're going to be painting on the back side of our watercolor paper because it's less tooth. Gouache tends to show the teeth marks really easily because it's so opaque. And so it's important to have good paper. But to start out with, you can use anything until you have mastered it or want to, or the paper's giving you trouble. Like if you'll notice, this paper is really bumpy. It's not flat. Once I've painted it, it puckers a lot because of the water that's in the paper. And artists don't like that because that gives shadows. So they'll go up to a heavyweight paper with no tooth. And that's important for their artwork. For us, yeah, it doesn't matter. What we're going to do on the bottom half of this piece of paper is do an abstract painting. And I'm going to share my screen so that we can look at this artist that's on Instagram and we're going to follow along with her. We're not following her, we're looking at her artwork and copying it basically. So that's what I'd like to do is do that. Then this brown, wow, I think I'll just work on, oh, maybe I'll do purple first. How do you guys make purple? You'll use the aqua color of blue because you'll get a better purple. And then if you use the rosy pink, you even get a better purple. So going over here, yeah, I think I need more. No, I might be tricked with this purple. I might have a hard time getting the purple right. There. Let's see. Yeah, it's not as bright as I would like. So that purple eluded me. That's a hard one. I don't know what I'm missing. No, that just went darker. Okay, maybe you want a kit that has purple in it. Mauve in it. Okay, on to the brown. We have two browns. We've got the burnt umber, burnt sienna, and a raw umber. So I think I can just do this. This is behaving a lot like watercolor. And so you're not going to see a big ta-da moment until we go over something else and start making a scene or a picture. I'll have to let that dry and go over it again. Okay. Okay, moving on, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to look at this artist. It's just on Instagram. If you want to look at more of her abstract artwork, her name is Jan S. Kacelikart. And she's on Instagram. What I like about her images are they're opaque. They are on top of one another without seeing anything through them. And so we are going to copy one of them. And it's your choice what you'd like to do. Let me see if I can get the screen to go up higher. No, oh, there we go. Okay, so we're just going to take a minute, choose one of those images, and this will be your base, and you go ahead and paint at least one figure that goes over this, okay? That hangs over so that you can see the opacity of gouache. You're not going to be able to use a lot of water on the one object that goes over. You can use, did I give you guys a green paintbrush? Did you get green? Or did you get blue?
Blue.
Blue, okay. This might be a good chance to use this blue because you can get a lot of paint. Just wet your brush the very first time you've used it, but don't have a lot of water on it. And then go into a shape. And I'm going to use this, the blue, because I think orange and blue are contrasting colors. So I think it'll look good. I think I'll use the bright blue. And I'm just going to pick up a thick, very thick dose of it. And I'm going to do a circle. Not quite thick enough because I can see through that. Let me scrub on that blue just a little bit harder.
Debbie, are you painting on the orange circle one? Because we can't see your screen when you're sharing screens.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on one of the little cubes. I'm in the, if you do participants, click on participants, and then you should be able to see mine at the very top. Does that make sense? Go down to your bar along the bottom.
Yep, I got you.
Okay, I'm the very first, I should be the top one.
Yeah, you are. Thank you.
Yeah. So yes, I am going in here. Again, it's hard to do a really thick without, let me see. Okay, can you mute yourself back up again? I can't find the screen to do that right now. Let me zoom in so you can see. I haven't got it quite opaque enough. If you were doing a liquid gouache, you would be able to do that, to have that on top. So we can just do a second coat. Or third coat. So we can come back to that. Okay. And then, let me see. So someone is not muted. Can whoever's not muted, mute yourself again? That would be helpful. Let's see.
I think it's Sharon.
Sharon? Sharon, can you mute your microphone? Thank you. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to take another color. And depending on what you picked, let's see. Okay. I think I'm going to do like a big black, kind of that diagonal thing at the bottom. See, and the black covers really well. And then you can fill in this was a good one to show the gouache coverage. Oh, that covers over the orange perfectly. You see that? Okay, so now I'm going to do something on the side there. I think I'll just do a rosy pink, rosy red. Mostly I need to clean off this color, so that's good. I'm just gonna do a lot of plein air artists will take gouache out into the field with them, and because oils are just, I mean, they love oils, but it is hard to transport without smudging your work back. And so they'll, to do thumbnail sketch, they'll just pack up their gouache and take that with them, because the colors blend like oil colors. It dries hard, and it gives them the same effect, so they get a good color analysis by taking it out into the field. I'm liking this. This is fun. Okay, can you guys see my work? Okay. So then another one I'm going to do is almost looks like mountains.
Debbie,
Yes.
does gouache wash out of clothes?
Gouache will.
Okay.
It just depends which color. But yes, if you treat it right away, it will. The acrylic gouache will not. I shouldn't say that. I haven't ever tried getting it out, but the watercolor gouache will, up to a point, just like watercolor. Hopefully you're just asking and you don't have a mistake. Okay, I think I just want to do a lemon yellow something. Not quite sure what I want to do. Let's just go. We'll mirror off the black. Looks like I did a crown. Okay. And then I think just a rust brown would be good to test. And I think what I'll do is just go over the top of the yellow. Okay, folks. So there's my abstract. I can go ahead and go over that blue one more time. Give that a second coat. Nope, it's just wanting to lift up the other blue that's underneath it. So that's not a good test of that. So I'd have to let it dry and then gently put on a fourth coat. Okay. Okay, I think I'm going to stop the share. Hopefully you guys can figure this out. If you have one more shape to fill in, you'll be fine. What I want to show you is this on my iPad. See how she's taken the circles? And just by taking different shapes, she's been able to add mountains and stream, water looking. But each mountain is a different color. Let me show you. So we'll try to do that if we have time at the end. What I was wanting you to do is take these colors and do these shapes, this shape with it. Like draw a circle with your tape and then make a mountain scene with these colors, okay? So if we have time at the end, we'll do that. But right now I want to move on to the real reason I have you these big pieces of paper cut is that I want to do an ocean scene. Now, a lot of people do their gouache illustrations in a notebook, and they just you buy a heavy papered notebook that can take the color of gouache, and then you're able to just open up and do your plein air sketches. You can do your all sorts of pictures for you to be able to photograph and upload. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the smoother side of your long paper. That's this side for me. And we're going to just be painting on half of it. So I'm going to go ahead and crease it. Don't crease it if you don't want to make it into a booklet. If you want to keep it flat, that's just fine. Okay. But what we're going to do is the ocean scenes that were in the handout. I want to make sure we get to that because it is a beautiful way of blending. And the reason I'm doing it side by side on this is that if you were to sew this into a booklet, you would have these two oceans side by side on these pages. So we're going to do this one first, will be on the left, and this one will be on the right. Now, let me explain. When she gets to the water, she's working from dark down because we've got the reflection of the mountains and she's getting lighter and lighter, and it's daytime. This one's nighttime. So she is going to do the reverse. She's going to she started dark down here and kept adding lighter blue up to the horizon line because it's nighttime. So we're going to do that also. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to keep this in front of me. I'm just going to use the blue brush because that's all we need. If you have your paper towels nearby, you might need it. Let me get this into the right place. Okay, so remember we've got two blues on our plate. This blue is more of a teal blue. We are going to save that for the water. Right now we're going to just be doing the sky, and it's going to be this blue, and then we're going to add some white to it as we go down to get that gradient look, okay? So I'm just awakening this gouache, and I'm just going to scribble a little till we get a thick. Oh, and if you want to outline, if you want to outline your picture, you can with tape. I'll show you. You just go like that. If you've got washi tape, it works. If you don't mind, you can have rough edges on the side. It doesn't matter. It's just a personal preference. But the thing about it is with gouache, at least this artist that we're following today, she leaves her tape on until the whole image is dry. And the reason she does that is that I guess she's had trouble with it lifting in the past, okay? So if you don't want to tape it, no big deal. It's just fine. We're going to start at the top with just solid blue, and we're going to try to make it as thick and dark as possible. So that means going back to our palette a lot. Okay, about here, about an inch down, we're going to start adding white to our brush. So let's make sure this is as dark as we want. And we're doing horizontal strokes. And we're building up. Then I'm just going to come over to the white and pick up some and come into the blue. And it's going to be a bit lighter. That's not light enough. Okay. You want the two to blend, so you may have to go back up into the darker blue, but then rinse your brush out. And by the time you're here, our horizontal line, it's just a little above midway that we're stopping. Okay. Now this is not straight, so I'm going to go over with the water is going to be my guide. I'm going to make it straight when I do the water line. So that's dark. Maybe I can go over the top, up at the top, and get a darker blue. And that seems to be working great. Gouache dries really, really fast. That's the other good thing about it. Our regular acrylic paints would take, you know, quite a few hours to dry. And oil is really a lot longer. That's days and days and days. If any of you did the poison apple, that was oil, water-based oil, but it had oil component, and it just took forever to dry. See, and you can see that this watercolor paper, the 140, is buckling. At least it is on mine. It probably wouldn't if you just used right out of the tube. I think it would be okay. Okay, while we let that dry, we're going to use we're going to work on the water. Skip the mountains for right now. We're going to do a big line of blue-green water. And what I mean by blue-green water is we literally are going to take this blue and this green and mix it together. So I'm just doing a dab of water on both to awaken it. This is the turquoise blue now. And I'm bringing it down and making a puddle. I don't know if you can see that. I'm making a puddle here. And then I'm taking my green and coming in and we're making a sea green. If I had Viridian green, I would be using that at this point. Viridian green is this color right here. It's in the acrylic, my acrylic box, but it's not on our kits today. So we are making it up. So first of all, I'm going to do a straight line for the horizon. As we go down, we're going to use more and more turquoise, less and less green. So the green is in the background on this one. And as we go down, we're going to pick up the blue. And then it's just straight blue, the cerulean blue down at the bottom. Okay. While you're waiting for everybody to catch up and for this to dry, we're going to jump over to this other side and just tape it up and get it ready to go. If you're not taping, that's fine. So now, if you feel your sky, it is dry enough to go back and do the clouds. For that, we're just going to be doing white. And we want to just dab linear clouds. They're far out in the ocean. They're not up close. Did I see that okay? Looks like it's still a lot of blue. I'm going to do a little over here. The drier your brush with these clouds, the better. You can almost just stamp the color. If you had liquid white right now in a tube, you'd be putting just straight white on top as a highlight. Okay. That's good. That's the clouds. And then we're taking our black. Now we have to switch out of the black, our paintbrush. We have to go to a finer paintbrush. Yours may be the green one, which works really great because it's got a good tip, and these little ones are perfect also. So we're just going to take the black, and I'm going to start here. In this cloud, it's going to have a point, and it's just going to come down and come up. And then it goes over to the left. Just use your imagination. And on the left, obviously the black line is critical along the bottom. And fill that in. Okay. Okay, so we're going to just do some highlights. And the very first thing we're going to do is down in the bottom here. We're just going to take a white on our pointed brush. Oops. We want some true white, and we want it kind of a creamy consistency. And what you're going to do, actually, you're going to add a little bit of blue to that. I forgot. Because if it was pure white, it would be like the waves were crashing in, but it's not. It's a subtle waves. And so we're just going to do a light a line of water. Okay, so I'm going to start close to the bottom and just do what I would consider just jaggedy lines interspersed. All along. And then as you go back farther, they're just going to get farther and farther apart. Does that make sense? They get spaced up. And this just shows that water's coming, that there's waves and action in the water. And if your white is disappearing, that means that it's losing its opacity, and you just need to go back over it, maybe with a stronger white mixture, not as much water, more paint pigment. Okay. The farther back they are, the more straight they are. And then pretty soon they're non-existent, about halfway up in the sky, in the sea. That doesn't show up on my camera, I'm sorry. It doesn't show up very well. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to add green shadow to the mountains. Not shadow, but reflection. It's reflecting of the water. So we're going to take, we only have one green, so we're just going to use it full force. We're just going to come down the face of the mountain a little. And it's not dry enough. We may have to come back and do that. Okay, we'll start on the other picture and come back and do that. Okay, so the other side, let me move my camera. There we go. Okay, so it's a nighttime sky. So we're going to start with a regular blue color. We're going to add a little bit of black to it to make it a nighttime sky, and then we'll keep adding blue as we come down. Okay, so from here, I'll start with the blue. I'll bring it down here to add black. We want kind of a midnight blue. We don't want a black sky, definitely not a black sky. We want a blue. You just need a tad bit of blue, black. You don't need a lot of blue. Black, it's very strong. Okay, I'm gonna start with that. I'm gonna go across. I'm gonna switch back to my blue brush. It fills it in much quicker. And as I go down, I'm just going to be using the blue without anything, without any black in it. That's as far down as I want to go. Gouache has a tendency, oops, mine just broke off. When it's skipping like that, you know you need to add a touch of water. Just one drop usually does it, 1-2 drops. Especially with the fresh, out of the tube colors. Okay, then I'm going to go back up into the sky and blend those two across here. Okay. Now below, we're going to start with the darkest, and we're going to go this way, just the opposite gradient, because we're far away. If we look at our photo, we're going to start dark, and we're going to get lighter and lighter and lighter, and because the moon is catching more of the color back here. So to do that, we are not using this blue anymore. We're going to jump over to the other blue. Looks like I just have barely enough left to do this project. Okay, and I am going to be adding green to it. And we want a very dark blue-green. Okay, and as we go up, we will be adding more and more just blue. I ran out of blue. I hope you guys have enough blue. I may have to come back and get some of this other blue. That takes away, that dulls it. Okay. Okay. While the bottom is drying, we're going to be splattering the white. We're going to splatter white on top for stars. And so this is kind of a fun exercise. All of you have done that in watercolor before, where we cover up what we don't want to get splattered with a paper towel. And then we get a real creamy white on our brush, like right here. You want to cover up the photo to your left, or the picture that you're working on to your left too. Okay, and then I'm just going to hit it's not watery enough, I guess. Seems like a lot of hits. It must be really thick on my brush. Ooh, that was like a whole constellation. Okay, so with that, I don't need to go back. You may want to put in some bigger spots in places, but right in the middle, we're going to be painting a moon. And it's a small moon. just like that. Okay. While you have the white on your brush, you can just do the reflection of the moon down here. And it starts out directly under the moon, pretty wide. And then it's narrower as it comes down. Then we're going to pick up the black and do some mountains. Now, again, you don't want it too watery or else it won't cover this blue. But already my black has dried up on my palette. It's amazing how quickly it dries. Okay, just going across, we're just going to put something right across the horizon. We're going to take it up and off the page. It's going to have a little bit of a peak. Just look at your photograph to follow along. And then on this side, which will cover up a bunch of this that I'm doing, we're doing a big rock in the sky that comes down here about part way. We're doing another rock that comes out from it. Okay. Across the back is another set of mountains on this side of the horizon line. Okay, and we're filling this in, so we can just use our blue brush if you want. There's some other little formations. Let's just go ahead and do those. There's one quickly just right here. One coming off the side here. And another one coming right there. So all of these get filled in, and then on the right-hand side, there's some more rocks in the shore. And one behind that. I really like this gouache, this black gouache. If we wanted to use that in your watercolor pictures, you're more than welcome to, because it's a water-based medium. And a lot of times we're looking for something to cover up our black, or to use with as black, because our black watercolor isn't as dark as we want it. So this is wonderful how well it covers. If you're submitting artwork to an art show, a lot of times they'll ask you what medium it is, and you have to report if you've used watercolor pencils on there or gouache. And so you can't just say, oh yeah, it was watercolor, and they find out later that, oh no, it really is, because they might have very strict entries. And so you have to abide by that. But if it's just for your use, like these are, because this is someone else's artwork, you can't resell this anyway. So it's just fun to experiment with it. Okay. I'm just gonna let that dry for a minute. I'm gonna jump, oh no, I got black on this. Well, that's too bad. Watch out for black under your plate. I probably could lift it. Let's experiment a minute and see if I can redeem myself. If I can fix this awful thing that happened. I might not use my black brush because that would probably put black down. But if I were just to wet that, first of all, and then blot it. It's taking some of the blue out, but I'm fine with that. It's just getting rid of the black. So I want to scrub it just a little. So learn from my mistake, how well it lifts. Okay, so then I need to repair that little piece of water that I kind of messed up. And to do that, that's pretty green. That works, okay. Okay, hold on a second. Oh, did someone? I got messed up so much, I might end up putting a small rock down under there. That would probably do it. Let's go ahead and take our green, like we talked about, to highlight our mountains now. And that's just, oh, I shouldn't use this brush. That's just going up the face of it where it would be reflective of the water. You're going to see just water bouncing or light bouncing off the water and highlighting the mountains just a little bit. It's hardly even noticeable, but it is truly there. And you'll see that it starts to lift your black, so be careful to keep a clean brush. And then jumping over to this side. We're going to be doing the same thing. Actually, we're going to be doing white because it's going to be the reflection of the moon. So we're back into our white. And the white goes on top of, it goes on top of the rocks where the moonlight catches it, just like the sun would catch it. And if you look at the end of your brush, if it's starting to look black, you need to rinse your brush and go back in your white. Because it will lift the black. Okay, up on top. And it could actually get over into some of the shadows of the rock, like different parts that stick out. Okay. And then what we need to do is take our blue, we would need to take our sky blue, the cerulean blue, not the blue-green. What we're going to do is do a base behind. So if the moon was in front, behind it, it's going to have shadows of the rocks. So we're going to come in and do mountain, kind of weird, opposite painting what is in the water, what's on the mountain, if that makes sense. And it doesn't have to be filled in all the way. It is a kind of a scraggly line. It doesn't, because again, you've got water movement, and so it's going to reflect differently. We'll do this little island out in the bay. And then when we get to these big rocks, it's pretty much all the way. We want to do kind of a scribbly line that reflects the exact shape of the rocks. So if you think of painting it in like a leaf and you're just doing the other side of the leaf, it makes it really easy. That means that this whole left side is going to be dark blue because it's this big rock. It's shading it all the way here. Okay. And you can take lines of the blue. Again, they would be bigger in front. And then as they go out towards the water, they're farther apart and they're thinner. So you're just going to do some really fine lines. Just to show some movement. Okay, that's that one. Okay, I'm going to pause the recording and then we'll show each other our work. Okay, now that this is pretty much done, I'm going to peel it off. Remember to pull it off at a 45-degree angle. And you just want to just pull it this way. And that will protect the paper. Mine still tore. Go slow. Go slower than I am. Okay, here's a critical one, because how can you do 45 on both sides? Ooh, it worked. Okay.
For some reason, mine always tears the paper when I pull my tape off, no matter what I do.
I don't know why that is. Why is that? Because I push really hard, but I only push hard around the edge. The rest I usually don't. So if I were to sew this into a book, and if you took my sewing class or booklet class, wizard journal, you would know that you can just poke 2 holes in here, string a string through the back, and add more pages. So you could paint on this one and do the same thing and make it into a booklet by, let me zoom out. So you could, by having a fold in there, you could make it into a booklet, and this could be your center spread, is what I'm saying. And then you would paint the back of this, and this one you might mirror, like do a neat thing, something that goes all the way along, like flowers. You could do a whole border of flowers or something. I would suggest you look at Gouache on Instagram for lots of suggestions, and also on Pinterest. So both places I have a huge collection of, so on Pinterest, if you go to the Mammoth Family Public Library and follow that on Pinterest and go to Gouache, you will find some things, or into painting, you'll find some things to do, okay? Oh, my video just went off, that's weird. Can you still see me? Nobody touched anything and I disappeared. Okay, what we're gonna do now is we're going to take our colors that we mixed initially, and if we've got the same paint left on our palette, and we're gonna be doing this, one of these. So I'm gonna pick this one down here. It looks like it's, actually it has that blue that I don't have any more of. Let's do this. Let's do that one. I can fake it. I'll do a different color than the rest of you. Okay, so I want you to see, let me see if it'll focus in. Okay, it's not gonna focus. Just deal with, trace a circle with your masking tape. The very first thing we're gonna do, I'll just do this really dark so that you guys can see, but you guys draw it really lightly. So I'm going to go in front. The first one is like right here. So this is my circle. I don't know if you guys can see that. Then the next line goes like this. Then there's a third kind of mountain. Then we get the peak up to the sun. And it goes all the way, this one goes all the way across. So and then we get this, okay? And then we get a sunshine. So now pick your colors. And the very first thing I'm gonna do is do kind of a background color. It's gonna be a peachy looking background sky. So to do that, I'm gonna use my orange, my burnt, that and yellow. And then if I add white to this, there we go. So I'm gonna fill this in with this color of sky. It's kind of a peachy, yellow, orangey. Maybe it's close to sunset is what it looks like. And this is kind of watercolor look. It's not a real opaque. If you can get it to go opaque, that's great. But I'm not going to worry about it. We don't have a lot of time left. I want to get the color laid down. Okay, so depending on your squares, you're going to fill in the rest of the circle. So based on my squares, I'm going to fill in the mountains and the sun. So of course my sun is going to be this orange. So I will do that next. I might even use the lemon yellow. That's close. You can test your color on your square, see how close you are. No, that needs to be more red. Usually mountains in the very background are your purples. So you could, that's what I'll do is I'll probably do purple, then blue, then green. Well, let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I'm gonna do probably my mauve. Go ahead and plan out your colors. My mauve here, my green here, blue, brown, and then purple. So purple will be in the very back. Okay, so now I've painted the purple. I'm going to go on to the brown. The brown is having a hard time being opaque for me. The black was so easy. I'll have to come and do a second coat on my brown. Then blue is next. Maybe I should have done blue before the brown. And this is my dusty blue. So it's almost navy blue. So it probably should have gone behind the brown. Come to think of it. Next, I'm going to do the green. Actually, I might do the green in the front. I'm going to do my mauve, my pink to the left. So I'm having to go over about 2 or 3 times to get the color, the thickness, the opaqueness that I want. If you were doing it right out of the tube, maybe once, maybe twice, you'd have to go over it. Okay. And on second thought, I think I kind of messed up. If I was to do this accurately, I would go purple, pink, then blue, then brown, then green. So I would have done it in a different order had I really planned it out better. Okay. That's all I've got for today. I hope you guys had fun. Thank you for joining me today in our gouache class. And we'll see you next time.